Welcome to Under Oath. I am your attorney, Matt Englett. Thank you for joining me. If you have a legal question, this is the hour every single weekday right here on 540 a.m. at 6 p.m., 6 to 7. Get your legal question lined up now. 855-ASK-MATT. That's my hotline. If you want to shoot me an email, we try to do 4 or 5 of those during every show. Sometimes we don't get to that many. But nonetheless, the best way to email me is by going to my website, underoathradio.com. So, the Trayvon Martin case continues to be a hot story, not only here in Central Florida, but also throughout the country. It was funny because I was watching the O'Reilly Factor last night. I watch it every night, and it was interesting to see him talk about the Florida Stand Your Ground law. He had 2 lawyers. He does that Is It Legal segment where he has those 2 female attorneys on, and he was talking about it. And all 3 of them live in New York City, and, of course, O'Reilly's from New York City. And he wasn't opposed to the Stand Your Ground law, but you could tell that the whole concept of standing your ground and being able to carry a gun was a little foreign to them. And it was funny. It was funny to be able to watch some New Yorkers talk about a law like that, because to them that's crazy. I mean, in New York City, you're not even allowed to have a gun. If you have a gun, they'll throw you in prison, for goodness sakes. The only people in New York City running around with guns are criminals and cops. So I got a lot of calls about my comments last night, and we got a lot of activity about people wanting to comment about my comments on it. And whether you agree or disagree, some of those people might have agreed with me, and some of them probably didn't. But anyway, I wanted to have Larry on. Larry called in, and he wanted to give us some of his comments. So, hey, Larry, how you doing?
I am really good. How are you?
I'm good. Hey, thanks for listening to the show. What's your take on this Trayvon Martin?
Okay, by and large, I agree with most of what you said, but it was the you marginalized the death of this kid. So that was my basic thing. The guy was dead for 3 days before the parents even knew. He was dead on a slab for 3 days before the parents even knew. The cops didn't even go door to door to find out more information. They got multiple 911 calls. All of them said they heard a kid crying in the background for help. Mm-hmm. And the police didn't even follow up on any of this. You said that we should let the law run its course, but obviously the law had no intentions of running its course in this particular case in Sanford.
Well, how did you hear?
And that was my thing.
How did you hear about that? I didn't read that in any of the news stories.
Sure, it's all over the place.
Oh, I didn't read about any of that.
Matter of fact, just this morning I heard, and I haven't qualified this yet, but I just heard that Zimmerman is the son of a judge, mm-hmm. a magistrate up in Virginia, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Well, listen, I didn't, and if I sounded callous towards the fact that this 16 or 17-year-old kid was killed, I didn't mean to come off that way, certainly, because I don't care what position you take on any gun law. Anytime that happens, it's a tragedy. My point is, and I don't know what happened with the law enforcement officers who did the initial investigation. What you said may very well be true. My point is this: let's see what the state attorney does. You know, they ultimately decide who gets charged and who doesn't get charged. So let's wait and see before we rush to judgment and say that, you know, this guy's going to get off scot-free. Let's find out. Let's see what he does. Let's allow the state attorney's office, and I used to be a prosecutor. I know how this system works. Let's allow them to investigate it, and let's allow them to make a decision on whether or not they charge this individual. I happen to think they're going to charge him.
But here's the thing, is what about the police department? They didn't even investigate this. All those calls that we've heard, they had that night, mm-hmm. and they did nothing about it. So are we going to allow the police chief to stay on his job? when he doesn't care about the law?
Why do you say he doesn't care about the law? What did you want him to do?
Because he didn't follow up on any calls.
Okay, well you're saying that, but I didn't read that, and I've read, I don't know, 6 or 7 different articles on this. I didn't read that in any of the articles that I read. I've listened to several of the calls from Orlando Sentinel. It's there. Okay, but
they didn't follow up on the call.
At the end of the day, the law enforcement officer does not make the filing decision. They have to gather all the...
law enforcement officer should have arrested that guy that night. There was probable cause.
That's your opinion. I'm not sure there was...
No, that's more than my opinion. That's the law.
No, that's not... No.
That's the law. Now, you're a lawyer, I'm not. But if he can go out and shoot a kid and say, oh, self-defense, well, what are we coming to? This nation is going down the tubes quickly if that remains like that.
Not necessarily.
If this guy doesn't get hung, there's a problem here.
But you're convicting him before we know all the facts. You're convicting him.
We know the facts.
No, we
know
don't.
that he didn't get arrested.
No, we don't.
We know that.
Okay,
we know that he killed that kid. He admitted that. We know that he was on the phone. Wait a minute now. He was on the phone. He hung up the phone and said, I lost the call. But the child was still on the phone with his girlfriend. And the girlfriend said that he told Trayvon to run away. He said, no, I will walk fast. All of this is known.
But we don't know all of the facts yet.
We do know.
Not
we
only
know
that,
enough that we know that guy should have been arrested.
Okay.
We know that.
No, we
now,
don't.
We don't know nothing else. We know that.
No, we don't.
You have to admit that.
No, I don't have to admit that.
Yes, you do.
There is evidence on both sides.
There is no evidence. There's no evidence. There was a dead child. That's evidence we got. Who was on a slab for 3 days before the cops told the parents. The cops didn't even check his phone.
Listen, at the end...
And now you're going to say that there's no evidence?
This is what I'm going to say. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again.
Don't say it again, because you're wrong.
But are you going to... Listen, I've allowed you to talk, and I've allowed you to go on now for over a minute and give your opinion. And I understand that's fine. I understand it's an emotional issue. And your opinion is that they should have arrested him. And I don't necessarily disagree with that. But here, at the end of the day, here's what has to happen. Even if they were to arrest him, he would have bonded out. He would have not got a no-bond situation. He would have bonded out. So... we're still right where we need to be, which is the state attorney.
We are not where we need to be.
Are you going to let me finish? Are you going to let me finish?
I'm sorry.
Since I yielded the floor to you and I've allowed you to go on, now let me finish my statement. Your beef is that they should have arrested him. What my point is, let's allow the state attorney's office to finish their investigation and make a filing decision. My inclination is to say, based on everything I've read, and I haven't looked over the police report, I don't know all of the facts of the case, but based on what I know, it's my opinion they are going to charge this person. And once they do charge him, they will arrest him, and then they'll set a bond and he'll bond out and ultimately have to face a jury on this issue and allow a jury, 6 people who are supposed to be impartial, to decide his fate. I think that's what's going to happen. But before we rush to judgment and start firing people, let's at least allow the state attorney to finish up their investigation and make a decision on it. That's my whole point, Larry.
Well, I think you're falling short on what should happen.
Well, you think that, you think that, okay.
One other point.
Okay, real quick.
The way I understand, even if when a police shoots someone, they take his gun, I think, and he's on desk duty while there's an investigation. This guy went home with his gun after killing that kid and say it's self-defense.
Okay. I can't.
Now, there's something wrong with it.
But, Larry, and I appreciate your comment. I'm going to have to let you run. And, Larry, I sincerely do appreciate you coming on and knocking this issue around with me. Thank you. I can't verify a lot of the stuff Larry alleged, especially at the end there where he talked about keeping his gun. Maybe that happened. Maybe it didn't. I'm not sure. I didn't read that in any of the articles that I read. And if I can't verify it, then I can't say that it's fact. But, Larry, we do appreciate your comment on this. Hey, if you're out there listening and you have a comment on this, if you want to call into the show and weigh in one way or another, I'll be happy to have you come on and do that. 855 Ask Matt. But go ahead now and get your legal question lined up, because I'm going to be spending the rest of the show taking your legal questions and giving you some free answers. I'm going to take a quick break and come back after this. You're listening to Under Oath.